In a world driven by profit and production, the moral question often becomes not can we, but should we? Kant argued that morality isn't measured by results, but by intention, by the will to do what is right simply because it is right. But in modern industry, that balance is often lost. When consequence outweighs duty, power becomes unprincipled, and the cost of that imbalance is moral, not just material. For Kant, morality begins in reason and culminates in duty. This view is called deontology, from the Greek word deon, which means duty. It holds that an action is right not because of its outcome, but because it follows a moral law. What matters most is why we act, not what happens after. The categorical imperative is Kant's test for moral action, a universal law that must hold true for everyone, no matter the situation. Duty means doing what is right simply because it is right, not for reward or result. And goodwill is the moral intention behind that duty, the will to act rightly for its own sake. A good action has worth when it's chosen from principle, not convenience. When the scale leans towards consequence, what's profitable starts to masquerade as what's permissible. And that's how moral balance can be lost, and where ethical problems begin. The state of Iowa, where I live, is a national leader in renewable energy. Roughly 2/3 of our electricity now comes from wind. Yet despite all of that wind potential, coal-fired plants still run. Wind output is sometimes curtailed because coal remains cheaper to pause and restart, limiting progress due to convenience. This divide is not technological, it's ethical. The choice between maximizing profit and honoring duty to people and the planet. Kant's first test, the formula of universal law, asks a simple question with profound consequences. Could the principle behind this action be law for everyone? Imagine if every energy company were delaying renewables to prioritize short-term profit over. If that choice became universal, the world would look quite different. The same skylines that once symbolized progress now disappear under the weight of that collective choice. A maxim that justifies harm for convenience cannot be universalized. It contradicts the very reason that guides moral action. See, every moral action begins with a choice, the maxim we decide to follow. That choice brings with it a consequence that extends far beyond a single decision. And with consequence comes responsibility, the duty to recognize when our actions cause harm and to correct the course before it becomes universal. When profit becomes the rule and duty becomes optional, consequence replaces conscience. Kant's second test directly challenges that substitution by focusing on human worth. The principle that every person must be treated as an end in themselves, never merely as a means to an end. These are the people who power our world. Their work is difficult and often dangerous. They deserve more than to be valued only for what they produce. Dignity reminds us that moral worth isn't earned, it's inherent. Every worker deserves to be treated with respect, not reduced to a role. Their value is not measured in productivity, but in humanity. And it is our duty to protect that dignity, to ensure people are never used merely as tools for efficiency. When companies make decisions that place efficiency over human dignity, they betray their duty. Workers become disposable, their worth reduced to what can be extracted from them. Lives are shortened, communities are forgotten, and dignity gives way to indifference. Neglect is the absence of care where duty should exist. Exploitation follows when profit replaces respect, and failure occurs when society accepts both as inevitable. Kant's third test expands morality beyond the individual. It asks us to imagine a world where every person acts as both a moral lawmaker and a citizen. A community guided by reason, respect, and justice. This is the kingdom of ends, where people and principles coexist in harmony. Stewardship reminds us that power carries responsibility. Leadership is not control, it's care. When we treat the environment and each other as partners rather than resources, we honor our duty as moral stewards of the world. Equity ensures that progress does not come at someone else's expense. The benefits of innovation and prosperity must be shared fairly, not concentrated in the hands of a few while others bear the cost. And harmony is what emerges when duty and compassion align. When justice informs every action and dignity defines every choice, moral law becomes not a restriction, but a shared rhythm of coexistence. The kingdom of ends isn't perfection, it's order, where justice leads power and duty gives strength to compassion. We began with an imbalance, duty overshadowed by consequence. But when moral law prevails, the weight shifts. Power, guided by principle, restores justice. That is the weight of what is right. The test of moral worth lies not in what we gain, but in what we choose to value, and in remembering that what is truly human can never be bought.